You sent the message, now you're watching the three dots that never turned into a reply. Or, you said the thing, the real thing, the honest thing, and the room went quiet. Or you put something out into the world that mattered to you, and the response was nothing. Not criticism, nothing. And the feeling that came after wasn't disappointment. It was something closer to physical. Something in your chest, or your stomach. Or somewhere you can't quite locate, a pain that didn't make sense for what had just happened, because nothing happened. You were just not chosen. Why does that hurt so much? Not metaphorically, literally. Why does rejection feel like being hit? That question is what this video is about, and the answer is going to change the way you treat yourself the next time it happens. In 2003, neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger put people inside an fMRI scanner and had them play a simple ball-tossing game with two other players. At a certain point, the other players stopped including them. They were socially excluded, rejected, in the most minor, artificial way possible. And the part of the brain that lit up was the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex. The same region that processes physical pain, not a region associated with sadness, not a region associated with disappointment. The pain region, the same part of your brain that activates when you burn your hand or break a bone, activated when a stranger in a video game stopped passing you the ball. Your brain does not distinguish between being physically hurt and being socially rejected. To your nervous system, they are the same category of threat, same alarm, same intensity, same demand for a response. And there's a reason for that. For most of human history, being excluded from the group was a death sentence. No group meant no food, no shelter, no protection. The brain that treated rejection as physical danger was the brain that survived, so it built the most effective alarm system it could, one that made rejection hurt exactly as much as a wound, because a wound you ignore can kill you, and so can being left behind. You are not too sensitive. You are not overreacting. You are running survival software that has been running, without updates, for 200,000 years. Here's what that alarm system looks like in real life. The first pattern is anticipatory rejection. You haven't been rejected yet, but you know it's possible. And so, the alarm starts early, before the conversation, before the message, before the audition, before the first date. The system doesn't wait for the threat to arrive. It starts running the simulation of rejection in advance. Because in evolutionary terms, anticipating a threat and avoiding it is always better than experiencing it and surviving it. The pain of anticipatory rejection is real pain. It's the brain practicing the wound so it hurts less when it comes. Except the practicing never stops. And the wound it's preparing for often never arrives. The second pattern is rejection sensitivity. Some people, particularly those who grew up in environments where love was inconsistent, conditional, or withheld, develop what psychologist Geraldine Downey calls rejection sensitivity, a hair-trigger alarm system that detects the possibility of rejection in situations where none exists. A slow reply reads as withdrawal. A neutral face reads as disapproval. A cancelled plan reads as disinterest. The alarm is calibrated so sensitively that it fires constantly, not because the threats are real, but because the cost of missing one in the environment where the alarm was built was too high to risk. The third pattern is the one nobody talks about. The rejection you deliver before anyone else gets the chance. You don't send the message, you don't submit the work, you don't say the true thing, you stay small enough that the rejection can't find you. Because if you never fully show up, you can never be fully turned away. The self-rejection is the most efficient protection mechanism the system has ever built. It is also the one that costs the most, because it doesn't just protect you from specific rejections, it protects you from everything. And here is what the research shows about all three patterns. They share a common root, not weakness, not damage. A nervous system that learned very early that the cost of rejection was that being left out, left behind, not chosen, was not something it could afford, and it built the most powerful alarm it knew how to build, and then it never got the instruction to turn it down. Mugsy knows this alarm. He built his entire architecture around it, not because he was broken, because he was paying attention. Think of it like armor, real armor, the kind that works. Mugsy built his after the first time the pain was bad enough. He decided, not consciously, Not in words, but in the deep architectural way that nervous systems decide things, that he would not be in that position again. So he built the cynicism, the distance, the crossed arms, the one raised eyebrow that says, I already know how this ends, and I am not surprised, and it does not affect me. And the armor worked. It genuinely worked. The rejections still came. They always do, but they hit the ceramic, not the soft thing underneath. The crack absorbed the impact. The sarcasm deflected the blow. The armor did exactly what armor is supposed to do. The cost of armor is always the same. It doesn't distinguish between threats and safe things. The armor that keeps the rejection out, keeps the connection out to the wall, that protects you from being hurt, is the same wall that prevents you from being reached. And at some point, not immediately, not dramatically, but slowly, and then all at once, Mugsy realized that the armor had become the prison. Not because he was weak, because the armor was too good, because it had kept him so safe for so long that he had forgotten what he was keeping safe inside it. The soft thing underneath the ceramic, the thing the armor was built to protect, had been in there in the dark, alone, for a very long time. And it was still there, still warm, still intact. The crack in the ceramic, the one that glows, is not a flaw. It is the light getting through the armor. It is proof that the soft thing is still alive in there, still capable of warmth, still waiting for someone safe enough to let it surface. And then something shifts. Psychologist Guy Winch spent years studying what he calls rejection wounds, the specific psychological injuries that rejection creates, and found something that changed how he understood recovery. The biggest obstacle to healing from rejection is not the rejection itself. It is the way people respond to it after. When we're rejected, we almost universally do the same thing. We turn the rejection inward. We take the fact that someone didn't choose us and we convert it into evidence about who we are. I wasn't chosen because I am not good enough. I wasn't chosen because I am fundamentally unlovable. I wasn't chosen because something is wrong with me that I cannot fix. The rejection becomes a verdict, and we become the judge delivering it, harsher than anyone who actually rejected us would ever be. The original pain of the rejection lasts hours. The self-administered verdict lasts years. Here is what the research actually shows. Rejection is information about fit, timing, circumstance, and the other person's capacity, not information about your worth. The person who didn't reply was not making an assessment of your value as a human being. They were making a decision based on their own state, their own needs, their own limitations. The audition you didn't pass was not a referendum on your talent. It was a decision made by specific people with specific tastes on a specific day. Rejection tells you something didn't fit. It does not tell you that you are not worth fitting. And the armor, Mugsy's armor, your armor, the distance and cynicism and self-rejection, that armor was built on the verdict, not the information. It was built to protect against a wound that was actually self-inflicted. The original rejection hurt. The story you told yourself afterward was what built the wall, which means the wall can come down. Not because the rejection stops hurting, it won't. The brain is not going to stop treating social exclusion as physical threat. That wiring is 200,000 years old. But the verdict, the case you make against yourself after that, is a story. And stories can be rewritten. So what do you actually do? 3 things, grounded in research, that interrupt the rejection cycle at different points. The first is to separate the pain from the verdict. When rejection comes, and it will come, let the pain be real. Don't minimize it. Don't tell yourself it shouldn't hurt. It hurts because your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do. The pain is not the problem. The pain is appropriate. The problem is what you do in the window after the pain, the story you write while the alarm is still ringing. Guy Winch's research is clear. The most damaging thing you can do in the aftermath of rejection is unsupervised self-criticism. Name the pain, feel the pain, and then actively refuse to let the pain become a verdict. They are not the same thing. And treating them as the same thing is where the armor gets built. The second is to address the wound directly. Winch found that the single most effective intervention after rejection is self-compassion, not self-esteem, not positive affirmation. But the specific act of treating yourself the way you would treat a friend who had just been rejected. You would not tell your friend, this happened because you're fundamentally unlovable. You would tell them, that hurt, that was real. and it doesn't mean what you think it means. The research shows that people who apply this standard to themselves after rejection recover faster, maintain more accurate self-assessments, and critically are more likely to try again. Not because they hurt less, because they don't turn the hurt into a case against themselves. The third is to find one crack in the armor and let some light through it. Not dramatically, not all at once. One small low-risk act of showing up as you actually are in a conversation, in work you share, in something true you say to someone, safe. The armor doesn't come down in a single gesture. It comes down in 1,000 small decisions to let one real thing through. Each time the soft thing survives contact with the world, the nervous system accumulates evidence that the verdict was wrong, that survival is possible without full armor, that the soft thing is strong enough to be seen. Mugsy has a crack in his ceramic. It glows. He doesn't always know why, but some part of him has always known. It is the most important part of him, the part that was never destroyed by what was thrown at it, the part that is still warm, still capable, still waiting for a world safe enough to meet it. You were not too sensitive. You were not too much. You were not the verdict the rejection handed you. You were a nervous system doing the most ancient thing nervous systems know how to do, treating the loss of connection as the loss of survival, because for most of human history, the alarm was appropriate, the armor was appropriate. The self-rejection that kept you small enough to avoid the hurt that was appropriate for the version of the world that built it. That world is not the only world available to you now. The next time rejection comes, and it will come, because you are a person who tries things and connects with people and puts real things into the world. Let the pain be real, and then refuse the verdict. The pain is the alarm, the verdict is the story, and the story is yours too, right? The crack in the armor is not where you broke. It is where the light decided it was worth getting through. Spoony and friends. Because everything you feel has an explanation.